Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Are we live, developers? Welcome. Mic check. Welcome to another RealToughCandy live stream. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Saturday. Let's just pop over here to make sure we are indeed live, and we are. How's everyone doing out there? Today's topic, it looks to be already a popular one. We already have a bunch of people here. The chat is already lit. I want to give a special shout out to my patrons, channel members, and Chiquito. If you are listening, thank you so much for your support, for making these videos possible. Today's topic is new JavaScript frameworks versus JavaScript fatigue. Most of us who have developed in JavaScript for more than a few days have maybe not hopefully, that's probably a bad word. We've probably experienced some sort of fatigue. So we're going to talk about what actually that means. And then I'm going to show you 3 frameworks. They weren't developed in 2020. All of these have been around, but they are gaining more and more traction as this year progresses. Also, we're going to be talking about something called Snowpack, which is a JavaScript tool. It's not a framework, but consider it a bonus. As always, I got to do my product placement. I did it all for the JavaScript mugs. Available in the CandyScript Teespring store. We have thick little stickers, actually pretty big. Did it all for the JavaScript. This is just one design. I have many designs there. We also have hoodies. And of course, what wardrobe would be complete without the classic Heather Gray? I did it all for the JavaScript. All that and more available on the CandyScript Teespring store. Paradoodly-doo, pop that link for people who must have the merch. Let's go in and check in with everyone. We'll do a roll call, see what you all developers are all up to, and then we'll get into it. Holy smokes! There are a lot of people here. Namood, Main Street. Christian, hello from Cameroon. Thanks for tuning in. Hassan, what's up? George Meehan, Dev, Felix. Hello, George. Nice to see you again. A lot of people have been making these every day. It's so fun to see people come back day after day. Code Zero, what is up? Sammy Turner, what's up? What's up? Smokey Godinson, is this one censored? My son loves JavaScript. I don't know how to respond to that. These live streams are live and uncensored, though. Anything is possible. Mr. Zed says, what does I did it all for the JavaScript actually mean? Don't you know that Limp Bizkit song, Mr. Zed? I did it all for the JavaScript. What? So you could take that JavaScript and stick it up your You know that Limp Bizkit song, right? It's just a play on that. I just talked to my mentor about this earlier today. Yeah, it's a real thing. I hope you guys had a good productive conversation about it, because there's a lot to be fatigued over. We already have 30 people here. It's great to see. K2020, hello, Kevin, Andrew, Tomas, Ruben, Randy Miller, Randy in Tulsa, check it in. Randy, thanks for your YouTube channel support. Wow, a lot of people here. So awesome, and more people filing in. Okay, so already there are a lot of people here, which tells me this is a topic that resonates with so many developers. Almost all of us, like I said in the beginning, have probably experienced JavaScript fatigue. So what is JavaScript fatigue? For some of us, it means burnout. It means you just can't take it anymore. But generally speaking, JavaScript fatigue refers to the inability to keep up with the latest tools, which is something we continuously see in the JavaScript domain. It's the fear of becoming obsolete. It's the constant change of the ecosystem. And it is the sheer and utterly overwhelming choice of everything. Life would almost be better if we only had 2 frameworks to choose from, but no, we have 50. Aside from the huge well-known ones, Angular, React, Vue, there are a lot of other ones people have talked about. There's Meteor or Aurelia. Oh my gosh, I'm not even going to name drop all of them. I'll probably get half the names wrong anyway. But there are just so many. How do you know which one to choose? How do you know which one to study? Why is React so popular? Why does React seem to get all of the mind share when Vue is offering a lot of stuff, when Svelte is coming into the fold and offering a lot of new ways of doing things, or better, we'll say more efficient ways of doing things, not necessarily new things, because really almost all these front-end frameworks are trying to do the same basic things. Each framework is a variation on a theme. So let's just hop into this first one. And I know we're going to get some feedback in the chat. If you're watching this on the replay, you got to enable that live chat, because half of the fun is seeing what people are saying about these frameworks and their experiences using them. This is one that actually, so here's like the typical life cycle of JavaScript fatigue. You see something shiny and new, you play around with it for a week, and then you find something else. Like, that's not sustainable. So for me, when I see, is it Deno or Deno? Why can't we need to have pronunciations just like on dictionary.com. Have a little speaker button next to these names so people like me don't look like an imbecile. I like Deno, so I'm going to say Deno. Deno is a secure JavaScript and TypeScript runtime, which is to say it's kind of like a Node alternative. Even more interesting, Deno was developed by the guy who developed Node. And this is not new. This has been around since 2018. But we're getting more and more influencers behind it, blogs with a lot of marketing money. You're going to be seeing this one more and more. And what's exciting to me about this, and this is part of the fatigue life cycle, because I just read the first line and my JavaScript feelers are already going boop, 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 boop. A secure JavaScript and TypeScript runtime. TypeScript as a replacement for Node. It's pretty cool, right? But I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna probably run a simple program and say, "Wow, this is so cool." I might be touting it for a bit. I might make a video about it and show my progress. Show a few projects I've been working on, personal projects, simple ones, and say, "Yes, this is the future." A month later, something else is going to come and dominate Deno and just say, "You've been eliminated. You're extinct." It's going to be Pterodactyl.js, and they're going to come with I don't even know. TypeScript ++. It is such a vicious cycle, because here's the other problem. A lot of us as self-taught developers, something like Deno is too new for even boot camps to start teaching. Even people can't predict what's going to be in vogue. This is a process. 4 years ago, people React, it was just like, we didn't know which one was going to take the forefront. Was it going to be Angular? It's a horse race. Who's going to be the one at the finish line? Is it going to be React? Is it going to be Angular? Is it going to be Vue? And I think one of the reasons, this is just my conspiracy theory, I think one of the reasons React is so popular is because, number one, now this isn't conspiratorial, but this leads to it. Number one, it's backed by Facebook, developed by Facebook. Even people who can't stand that platform associate Facebook as a company that is on its game with tech. And it is, right? It came up with React, it came up with GraphQL, all these other different services. A lot of people see, a lot of business owners even, this happens more than you think. They see something used by a big company and say, "I want that," without even an analysis. And some developers are like, whoa, we got to go through this and talk about this. At a lot of companies, that happens. At my company, it was actually the exact opposite. When I was in enterprise, my first enterprise job, we had too many frameworks. The boss didn't know web development at all, and he just let the department just go buck wild with it, and no one was held accountable. So we had Angular.js, Angular 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, I can't remember which one, 6 or 7, because Angular.js, there was a rewrite, and then, yeah, things went downhill from there. Knockout, Vue, what else? I think there was another one. Plus, we had a bunch of applications that didn't have frameworks, and they were corporate enterprise level applications without frameworks. It was a mess. But that is another product of having all of this choice, is that, you know, sometimes we don't make the best decisions. Sometimes, a lot of times it's really hard to know which one is suitable because of many factors. I can't even get into all the factors, but those decisions, people are imperfect. And the more options we have, the more that's going to go wrong. I don't know where Deno is going to be in 2 or 3 years. Is it going to replace Node? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't think most people know. But TypeScript, in my opinion, is a promising technology, and it makes JavaScript it just makes JavaScript better. It's better from a developer standpoint. Let's go to the comments. Any thoughts on Deno, or has anyone used this runtime? Let's see what everyone is saying. The Bayless code, what's up, Ian? I try not even to look at too many other frameworks besides the top ones. It's cool to try out new ones, but I just don't stick with them long enough. Yeah, exactly. Same here. K2020, what do you guys think about the web development climate during this? I won't say the word. Patrick Taylor, what's up? Angular is definitely better, so it must be a conspiracy. K2020 says, I see a lot of job postings, but how are you going to hire if you can't interview? Tomas says, there's a very good trick for this. Just know vanilla.js and make the framework work for you, not the other way around. Golden comment, Tomas. That's another thing we see a lot, is that, especially as self-taught web developers, 100% self-taught, even going to a boot camp, if our JavaScript fundamentals are shaky, even our intermediate, we're going to have a harder time working with these frameworks and pivoting. And that really is, I think, the mark of a mid-level dev and a senior dev, is that pivoting as a junior can be really tricky. And it's like, oh, I'm shifting my mind from this certain set of standards and from a certain process. It's just it's a little, the cogs don't turn as smoothly. And as beginners, sometimes that JavaScript knowledge is shaky, and who wants to spend months on JavaScript when we have these fun frameworks? Not a lot of us. We want to get to the fun stuff. So switching from JavaScript and going to a framework prematurely is going to catch up with just about everybody. I mean, it happened to me too. And it's hard working with multiple frameworks at one time. This might be the case when you go to your first or second or third dev job. It's never easy because there is no standardization. They have different documentation. They have different comments, different syntax, different implementations, different versions, different communities. It's just, it can get messy so quickly. Anyone have any experience with this Deno thing? Blazo says, I like TypeScript. Definitely. It's awesome. Kay says, shout out to your channel, by the way. Good content. Thanks. Code Zero, I use TypeScript with React and Node. Leon Brown says, vanilla JavaScript always wins in the end when concepts become a standard feature. Look at what happened to jQuery. Yeah. You know, HTML even now, I don't know if they unleashed it yet, but lazy loading, was that an HTML spec or JavaScript? I don't know what spec it was, but it's a native feature now, lazy load. And we used to, I mean, you could use jQuery, you could use a bunch of different things for the lazy load on photos and ads and stuff. But that is a great point. That is going to be something that is going to help developers so much in the long term, is when some of these bells and whistles become native to the language, to the browser, to where we just don't have to think about them, and it's just this, we just, you know, type A and then something, lazy load is enabled, or you know what I mean. We don't have to implement all these different tools, frameworks, and just miscellaneous junk in order to do something simple. So yeah. Maurice, how's it going? George Meehan Dev says lazy loading is JavaScript. Yeah, but I'm trying to think lazy, let me just see. Lazy loading native. This is Native lazy loading. Okay, so you just put it in the HTML tag and it's coming in Chrome 75. Are we on Chrome 70? What are we on for Chrome? Image source celebration. So you have your image here and you just say loading lazy. Dude, look at that freaking syntax. That's awesome. Also, this is css-tricks.com. This is a freaking awesome website. Here it is. Yeah, I actually did a video on this last year and I remember nothing about it. Anyways, it's stuff like this that makes our lives so much easier. There are some hardcore people out there who are going to be like, well, this is garbage. I need to do it my way. No, this is the best. This is good. This is a good thing. Okay, so this is what it is. The loading attribute, it's just the loading attribute. Allows a browser to defer loading off-screen images and iframes until users scroll near them. Loading supports 3 values, lazy, eager, or auto. Brilliant. It's brilliant. Ryan Dahl's behind Deno.RTC. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 2018, he actually said, it was in a speech in 2018, it was something like 10 things I regret about Node. And I believe that's when he unveiled this. And as far as, let's go back to the GitHub repo. It seems to be pretty popular. I mean, these are kind of useless metrics actually, but we all use them, so it's relatively popular. So yeah, I saw the dude's name right here, right? Or no? But yeah, Google, I'm here now. Let's just do this. Yeah, it was announced by Dahl in 2018 during his talk 10 Things I Regret About Node.js. And that's like, it's stuff like that does get me hyped up for something like this, because if we are moving more towards this, better to start early, better to get, and also, it's a good feeling. You feel validated. People feel validated when they're the first on something. I can't even speak. When they're the first people, they're early adopters and something succeeds. We talk about that stuff throughout our lives. Like, yeah, I was watching the Dallas Cowboys when they sucked, and now look they won whatever. Horrible football analogy. I don't even watch sports. You know what I mean? If you're an early adopter in something successful, you feel good about that. And it's the same thing with these frameworks. If I were to adopt this right now, and in 3 years, it's like everyone's talking about it, you're darn right I'd say, yeah, I was talking about its popularity rising at like 3 years ago. Oh yeah, I'd be a snob about it, no doubt. The problem is no one really knows who has the real money to, well, yes, we do. We know who has the real money, but there's a lot of acquisition. There are a lot of acquisitions. There are a lot of dealings we don't see. Did anyone ever think Microsoft was going to acquire GitHub? Probably not. So there is a lot of money out there, and the marketing goes a long way with these frameworks too, and people who get excited about them. Let's go to the next one. We talked about Deno enough. Let's talk about this one. It's another JavaScript framework, a rugged minimal framework for composing JavaScript behavior in your markup, Alpine.js. I believe a few people have mentioned this in the RTC Discord. Paradoodly-doo, pop that link for people to join the Discord. It's a fun little community. We talk just about everything. We have rooms for sharing your GitHub, sharing your portfolio, getting some feedback on your portfolio. We have a general room where we talk about just about anything. We have a meme room, which is increasingly one of my favorites. Yeah, it's open to everyone, all abilities, all are welcome. Alpine.js. Now this, I've heard a few people mention this. Even in the chat, someone had mentioned this. Alpine.js. This is the other funny thing about these frameworks, is that in order to be taken seriously, a lot of them name drop Vue and React. There's also a framework called Preact, or a library called Preact. It's a very, very small version of React. But yeah, people have probably heard of that one. A lot of people have probably heard of that one. Alpine.js offers you the reactive and declarative nature of big frameworks like Vue or React at a much lower cost. You get to keep your DOM and sprinkle in behavior as you see fit. Think of it like Tailwind for JavaScript. I've been hearing a lot about Tailwind lately. Note, the tool syntax, no, look at this. Note, the tool syntax is almost entirely borrowed from Vue, and by extension, Angular. I am forever grateful for the gift they are to the web. Now, this brings up another point I want to talk about with this framework madness, with JavaScript fatigue. In my opinion, and in the opinion of many others out there, I'm sure, the biggest and most pressing problems in web technology have been solved, at least in the front end. These are variations on a theme. Who can make it marginally better? Just one increment. Who can make it incrementally better? Who can make a framework that is one increment better? And that is why we keep seeing this kind of stuff until we reach a size, like a negative, some kind of, like how some restaurants like Chipotle, like, we're carbon negative. We're not just carbon neutral, we're carbon negative. I don't know if Chipotle said this, but other companies that are eco-friendly, they say we're carbon negative. We're actually taking carbon out, destroying it. Until we reach framework negative, not framework neutral, but framework negative, size negative, these frameworks are going to be popping up like tribbles. As long as there is a size related to these frameworks, whether it's 5 gigs or 5 bits, people are still going to be going wild about how smaller they can make it. It's going to be a little variation here and there. People are going to get excited about it because we have solved the biggest problems. I mean, in my opinion, as far as web technology goes, the technology isn't the problem. It's the social aspect. It's the UX UI. It's not related to JavaScript. Our biggest problem with JavaScript is that there's too freaking much of it. And developing another framework isn't going to fix that. Ugh, Alpine. Okay, anybody here using Alpine, let me know what you think of it. And it's just funny too, because like I said, they're not even developers of these platforms or of these frameworks. They know that Vue, React, Angular, the big 3, if you will, well, big 2, React and Angular. Vue hasn't really seen much commercial adoption. Really popular for side projects and developers love it. But as far as making money in the real world, they're relative to React and Angular, it's very small. Very small share with that. But they know for people to really get on board and champion these frameworks, they have to name drop. It's smaller than React. It has a great syntax like Vue. So people are taking, because this is all open source, developers are taking the best parts of these and making another framework. And that's cool, right? Like, being creative is one of the benefits of being a software developer. If you can dream it, you can build it. But there is a big cost to that. And just the mental bandwidth needed to remember all these freaking frameworks. Let's go to the comments. Thoughts on Alpine? Dopa says the only Alpine I know is Alpine Linux distro. Interesting. I haven't heard of that one. GTD is in the chat. What's up, GTD? I think beyond jQuery, Bootstrap, and our own internal ones, I avoid frameworks. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely... I envy you, GTD. I am JavaScript fatigued with the frameworks. Even though, I mean, I haven't really used React in a significant way for about a year. And all this new crap they're coming out with it, I'm sure it is adding to the enjoyability of React. But I wouldn't know. I try to avoid JavaScript frameworks where I can. And I really don't work on enterprise code bases anymore. And that's the thing too. Sometimes projects just don't need frameworks. We are so hyped to use the latest and greatest, but we don't analyze our project requirements. You have to ask yourself, is your site really needing a framework? That's why I feel pretty ambivalent about a lot of these static site generators like Gatsby. because a static site, by just the concept of a static site is that it runs really fast and it's really, really tiny, and it's really the footprint is contained. And then it uses React. I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, and where is, I don't know. I'm always thinking in terms of commercial adoptability and like commercial viability, I guess is the word. Static, I mean, just static sites. They're fun. They're fun projects, and I think as developers, it's important to know if your goal is to be employed in this industry, you have to focus on what companies are using. Companies are not using Gatsby. They're not using static site generators, and they are super fun. And I've done them for side projects. But if the bulk of your day is being used on static site generators, and you're hoping to get a job, you have to retool your mind. You've got to focus on what companies in your area are using, or your ideal city that you want to move to. Where are they, and what are they using? But I have love for static site generators. They're totally freaking fun. So yeah, let's go to the comments. KDub1 with the $5 super. Appreciate you, KDub. Thanks for tuning in. King, welcome. Rishu. Nomad Shay, how's it going? Nomad Shay says, aren't JavaScript developers ever tired of everything being new always? I'm a Python and Java dev. Nomad, that is an excellent observation. And that is something that I think when I get off the JavaScript superhighway and I go to a language like Python, I go to even something like Java, which is, I mean, I don't care for Java, but I feel like I can breathe. I feel like it's not insane. The JavaScript terrain is totally out of control. It is totally out of control. And honestly, we don't even know if JavaScript... Now listen to this. WebAssembly. WebAssembly is coming, and WebAssembly is going to change things. WebAssembly is going to change the web in a permanent way, in my opinion. With WebAssembly, you don't have to use JavaScript anymore. We can use faster languages. We can use Rust. We can use C++. We can use, there's something called Blazor out right now. You can build full stack C# apps. I think, there's a possibility that JavaScript's days are numbered. Is it likely? I don't know. But I do know WebAssembly is coming. And it is going to open up a lot more possibilities. And it's going to, I think with WebAssembly, a lot of these popular frameworks are just going to be totally laughable because they're built in JavaScript. We have better languages. We just, until WebAssembly, we couldn't really use a lot of them with the web. I'm so excited for WebAssembly. I am so hyped for WebAssembly. GTD says Java is wonderful. It's consistent and stable. That cannot be said for JavaScript. Exactly. JavaScript is a very imperfect language. All languages are imperfect, but JavaScript is especially imperfect. Just going here to this Deno, going back to it, the fact that they had to say, look at this, now note this phrasing, a secure JavaScript. They're implying that JavaScript is insecure, right? They wouldn't have to, or unsecure. They wouldn't have to use this word. And putting on TypeScript next to it. TypeScript is, we've already talked about TypeScript, but it's just interesting. It's interesting where developers are pushing things, and the big possibility of JavaScript's days being numbered or being completely just delegated as a legacy language. Those days, I think, are in our future. Not tomorrow, but eventually. Okay, so we talked about Deno, talked about Alpine. Let's go to the third one. Sammy Turner, this one's for you. Svelte. I did a video about 10 months ago. Paradoodly, pop that link. I was now in typical JavaScript fatigue form. I believe my tone was skeptical yet optimistic. I could be totally wrong. The video might have been completely skeptical. But I did play around with Svelte. I haven't touched it since about 10 months ago. But Svelte has really got some developers hyped. People are building things with this. The community is supportive. They have a Discord. They have all this stuff. They have all this stuff. And he has videos. The guy, Rich, I think is his name. He has videos on YouTube. I think this was like just his personal project that he spearheaded. I mean, now he has people. It's open source, so people are tweaking it and stuff and making it better. But his journey was interesting on how this came about. So welcome to the Svelte tutorial. This will teach you everything you need to know how to build fast, small web apps, etc. What is Svelte? Here we go again. Now look at the phrasing. It is similar to JavaScript frameworks such as React and Vue, which share a goal of making it easy to build slick, interactive user interfaces. But there is a crucial difference. Svelte converts your app into ideal JavaScript at build time, rather than interpreting your app code at runtime. This means you don't pay the performance cost of the framework's abstractions, and you don't incur a penalty when your app first loads. So it's fast, right? That's all most of these frameworks are trying to do, which is a very big deal. Speed and efficiency is like the crux. It is the crux. You can build your entire app with Svelte, or you can add it incrementally to an existing code base. You can also ship components as standalone packages that work anywhere without the overhead of a dependency on a conventional framework. I mean, this is a big promise, and that's a good thing. We need things that are more efficient everywhere. If you can make something more efficient, I mean, money is coming your way. But the problem I see from a financial standpoint, from an economic standpoint, is that companies have already chosen. The framework wars went on a few years ago, and React and Angular came out as the victors. Svelte, and again, this was a personal project from one guy. There aren't many companies out there who are going to say, who is that one guy who, yeah, I want what he has. If his name was Facebook, let me put it this way. If Facebook had developed Svelte, we'd all be using Svelte. If Facebook had developed Svelte, all of these online web developer bootcamps would be teaching you Svelte. But this is a really cool framework too. But again, contributing to the JavaScript fatigue? Abso-freaking-lutely. What do people have to say about Svelte? Yes, Sammy Turner blowing the comments up. Sammy says, Rich Harris's videos on Svelte are great, especially the return of write less and do more. Yeah, I mean, this is great. Like, one good thing, one really beneficial thing about open source doing these frameworks is that people who build them are generally very passionate. If they're not passionate, they're enthusiastic. So you can find a lot of videos on their build process and how. What I'm saying is this: we could watch a video on Svelte, you could watch a video on Alpine, you could watch a video on Deno, and there are going to be overlapping concepts that apply to JavaScript, that apply to programming, and apply to becoming a better developer. So even though you might think it's a total time sink watching an hour of Rich talk about his process for building Svelte, there's a lot of insight, and there are a lot of things you can take away from these talks. Now, of course, everyone's quarantined and life has come to a standstill for a lot of us, so conferences, of course, are on hold. But once the world starts running again, I highly encourage people to attend a tech conference, attend a JavaScript conference, attend an open source conference. They're going to blow your mind. They're where the party faithful go, and people who develop these frameworks are there. And that gives you a chance to talk one-on-one with them. A lot of times after the chat, what they'll say is, anyone have any questions? I gotta wrap up the chat. But if anyone has any questions, come see me. And there will be a modest line of people talking to the developer, talking to the talking to the evangelist, or whoever is giving the talk. They're invaluable. And that is one good thing about seeing all of these frameworks, all of these things going on in JavaScript. It is all about the JavaScript, baby, and you can learn a lot about the process. You can learn a lot about the underlying tech. I mean, imagine if all of these were written in different languages, yet and still we were expected to know them. Like, it would be even worse. It would be complete chaos. The one thing, at least these are all written in JavaScript and we can come to some understanding. Let's go to the comments here. Great room today. We have 70 people up in the live chat right now. Randy Miller says, name of a leading JavaScript conference. I don't know JavaScript conferences off the top of my head, but the one there, I would just Google open source conference because they're around the world. There's a JavaScript conference that is it European based? I can't remember. I'm gonna just look ignorant if I try to remember it. But these conferences happen all around the world. If you're not able to go to a conference, try going to a JavaScript meetup in your area because they have speakers also. Now, the speakers can vary, but a lot of times they'll do walkthroughs, they'll do tutorials. I've gone to many dope JavaScript meetups in my area, as well as Open Source North. That's a conference here in Minneapolis, right outside Minneapolis. Blew my mind. I went 2 years in a row, and unfortunately I had to miss it this year because of everything. But once they reschedule it, I would love to see some developers there from the community, from RTC. KW1 says, what's the name of your course on Udemy? Thanks for asking. How to get a job in web development is my course. I also have a course called Freelance Newbie. So if you're trying to make money during these strange times, check out Freelance Newbie. You can use your tech skills to make some of that bling. And if you're looking for a job, check out How to Get a Job in Web Development. Both of those are top rated. People really seem to like them. Okay, Svelte, Deno, and Alpine. We talked about these three frameworks. We talked about fatigue. Let's talk about something different, but not quite. Snowpack. Snowpack is a JavaScript tool. The reason I was attracted to Snowpack and wanted to share Snowpack today is because one of the worst things, developers, I cannot stand Webpack. I hate Webpack. I said it. I hate Webpack. I really, really don't like it. It triggers me. Snowpack is not a one-for-one replacement for Webpack by any means. But if you're feeling the frustration and want to explore some, hesitant to say alternatives, check this out. Build web applications with less tooling and 10 times faster iteration, no bundler required. This one is picking up some steam. I haven't really heard other people talk about it. In fact, I don't even know how I came across it. But there are demos here. Let's go to their official site and see what they're saying. Too long didn't read. With Snowpack, you can build modern web apps using React, Vue, etc. without a bundler like Webpack, Parcel, and Rollup. No more waiting for your bundler to rebuild your site every time you hit save. Instead, every change is reflected in the browser instantly. This is how JavaScript fatigue starts. What do they say? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. I think this is probably an example of this. I can see myself using this and then ditching it the next week for something better. Who's using Snowpack? We have some luminaries here. Internet Archive, a blue mouse. I mean, if a blue mouse is using it, I better go fork this immediately. Travis CI. Is this the Travis? No, that's not Travis. My bad. Intel, a few other people, a green brain, a yellow star. Who should use Snowpack? Beginners, anyone starting a new application, anyone building an application that doesn't change often, anyone who thinks web development has gotten too complex, anyone who is interested in the future of web development. Ooh, that's an enticing little intro, enticing call to action. Anyone, let's focus on this one. Anyone who thinks, whoops, what the heck? Anyone who thinks web development has gotten too complex. Less tooling means less to install, less complexity, less to do every time you make a change, and less to debug when something goes wrong. Removing tooling that sits between your editor and the browser also makes your dev tools much more useful for live debugging. I mean, they're not wrong, but I already know where this is going. And it really is, it feels like such a waste. And I'm not writing off Snowpack as like, yeah, don't try it, this is just useless. But I mean, we've seen this time and time again with these tools, something better always comes along. And that is one of the hallmarks of JavaScript fatigue. Inability to keep up with the latest tools. Fear of becoming obsolete. This is not the last you'll see of this type of tool. And it seems like a waste because so many people put a lot of effort into this stuff. This isn't easy to develop this. Even the documentation, look at this. This is a huge media rich. They got code snippets, photos, perhaps even a video. They got videos in here. This took a while to not only write, but to also organize. There are hundreds, thousands of hours put into Snowpack. And it's kind of like startups, right? Like people throw money, investors love putting money into startups, but the vast majority of startups fail. The majority of startups fail. The majority of businesses in general fail. New businesses fail. And I think this is an example of that. Not necessarily Snowpack. It could be the greatest thing ever. It could be the new HTML. It could be the new JavaScript. But we have seen this just so many times where cool, useful tools pop up, and then a month later, someone does something marginally better or creates a marginally better feature, makes the build time 1 bajillisecond faster, and this is rendered useless, swept into the dustbin of JavaScript history. But all that said, it looks pretty freaking cool because I can't stand Webpack. Let's go to the comments. GTD says, who should use? Anyone and everyone. By Bree Powered, what's going on? Paradoodly do, thanks for doing a great mod job today. KW1 says, sweet, just purchased How to Get a Job in Web Development on Udemy. Thanks, I hope you enjoy it. Oh my god. Oh, Ravi Dahal. I thought it said Ryan Dahl. It's like, wait, the developer of Node.js and Deno's here? Like, ah! Sorry, Ravi. Ravi Dahal says, look at PHP. It still powers around half of the internet, and it's been in decline for half a decade now. If there's one thing I've learned about web development, it's never to bet against JS. Yeah, but Ravi, WebAssembly. Also, PHP, we have PHP 7, that's come out a few years, it's been out for a few years now. It's a big improvement over past versions. We also have Laravel. We also have WordPress. I wouldn't bet against WordPress because some of these static site generators, Gatsby, I've seen marketing materials saying that it's an alternative to WordPress, which is a joke to me. I don't know. I appreciate the counterpoint. I definitely appreciate the counterpoint, but JavaScript, I don't know. Let's see. Curtis Davis. Curtis, what is going on? Curtis, it's so funny. Is it Erica Williams? YouTube told me to start watching Erica Williams, and I think it's because one of my subscribers, you or maybe other people, watch her live streams. I know I can't stop watching her live streams. Erica Williams does videos. She is in the trucking industry, and she is doing all sorts of stuff. Very business minded, and I love her hot takes. I love her assessment of our reality in American business and all that stuff. Anyways, that's a total side rant, but good to see you here in the live chat. What's everybody else saying? Pop K Dodge says, me an optimist, at least we get a road. Good point. Yeah, there are, I'm sure there are others like Snowpack too. It's just too much stuff, guys. It's just too much. And I know we kind of talked about it earlier with the Deno thing. but maybe we should just talk about it for a few more minutes, especially as new developers out there. It really impedes your learning journey with all this stuff being thrown at you. We always want to check out, this is the web, right? Like, stuff naturally evolves. It naturally is a fast-paced thing. Everybody's on the web. This isn't your father's web. This is not the 1980s. This is not the 90s. We're not doing GeoCities with lime green, except me, and like pink font, but you know, aesthetics. It's totally different. The web is now mainstream. And things change real fast. Things are changing as fast as we are and doing things faster. It's allowing us to do things faster. And it's good that everyone has, more and more people are getting access to the web. It's almost like a utility. It is a utility. The web's a utility. The internet is a utility. It's just, if I don't have my web, if I don't have my internet, you may as well shut off my water, my electricity, my kombucha supply. It's like, if I didn't have the web, I wouldn't have a job. And unfortunately, I would have to take one that I wasn't excited about. The web is a complete must-have in my life, and for millions, if not billions, of other people. And what we're doing as web developers is very important. We are making the web more accessible. We're making it faster for people. We're making it so people can use applications offline. Let's say, even as something as minuscule and first world problem as going through a tunnel and not having access to people in areas that are still on dial-up. And you would be surprised how many people are still on dial-up, even in the States. I read the stat a few years ago. It's like, I think like still 1 million people in this country are still on dial-up. It might be less now, but a couple years ago, people are still on dial-up. Building these technologies and doing the things that web developers do, it's a must. People need the web, and what we do is so important. Yes, JavaScript fatigue is real. All of these frameworks can be a little too much. Do we know the future in 5 and 10 years? No. We can make some educated guesses, but because this stuff changes so fast, trends change, money changes hands, influencers change, influencers and influences, we can't know for sure. That can be said for anything in life. I don't even know my original point of that. Aside from, there's a lot of JavaScript stuff out there. WebAssembly is coming, which I am super excited about. Curtis says, the digital divide is high for rural and urban kids for the last 20 years. Yeah, the digital divide is a thing too. Like, even, let's say, it's better than it was, I think, 15, 20 years ago, when a lot of people didn't have access, and computers were super expensive. Laptops, totally very expensive. One of the things, I don't want to say the only good thing, but one of the things I am seeing that is promising is that tech is cheaper and cheaper every day. So at least, and also too, there is a big tech component in a lot of schools. Public, private, etc. Charter, tech is so cheap and it's so ubiquitous now that we are seeing so much more of it in the schools. Even coding classes. There's this franchise, it's called Code, it's not Code Kids, it's like Code Ninjas or something. And it's based in Pearland, Texas, and they have franchises around the country where it's an after-school thing and kids go and learn how to code. And yes, it costs money. I'm not sure if they have scholarships or anything, but it is promising to see that more and more people are taking it seriously as a sustainable skill for younger people to have. And it's like a trade school. These places are preparing kids and young adults for a career that it is almost like a new school electrician, a new school plumber. The trades, there's good money in the trades. Depends on your state, depends on the actual trade. But a plumber, if you're a plumber, an electrician, HVAC, any of that stuff, in my state, your starting wage is going to be pouring concrete. Even as an apprentice, you're making 17, 18 bucks an hour. A few years in, you're doing pretty good for yourself. But this is like the new school version of that. And regardless of all this JavaScript stuff, OMG, I'm sure we're going to be talking about more frameworks next week. It's promising to see some of the changes. But to go back to your point, yeah, the digital divide, it is a real thing. Curtis Davis says, yeah, code ninjas in California. Okay, that's what it's called. Okay. Thousand Oaks, California has these substitutes for summer camps, code ninjas. GTD says one of the concerns about more people coming into development is all of the people who are doing it as a moneymaker versus a passionate trade. This is why it's very important to spend time to vet candidates before letting them loose on your code base. Great point. A lot of people, I mean, the more people we have, the more there's going to be just more people who know things, but applying it on the job is so different. And that might be a good topic for another live stream, like bridging the divide between knowing how to do something on a PC versus taking it to the workforce, taking it to a company's code base and succeeding. And yeah, I wonder if we're going to see more, as more people join this career field, are we going to see more stringent interview? It's not a matter of if, but how are we going to see interviews change? I heard someone say the other day, this was an interesting comment. Someone made the comment that, this wasn't on my channel, this was on a different channel, about coding interviews. Someone said that whiteboard interviews, technical interviews, where you sit down and code out a problem that an interviewer throws at you, they're proxies for IQ tests. And if some of these companies could use IQ tests, they would, but IQ tests are illegal in North America, or at least in the States. So that brings up some interesting, I don't even know what. It's just legal things, accessibility things. I won't even get into all the things because that's kind of veering off topic right now. But yeah, we're gonna see more people who need to be vetted for this career. And one of the bad things about this is one of the things that I like, but I also don't like, is that you don't need a license. You don't need to have approval from any entity. Like in North America, you need to have, in my state, you need to be licensed by the state. You need to have a certificate to cut someone's hair. But meanwhile, developers are working on $1 million applications, hundreds of millions in some cases. We're dealing with sensitive information. We have the ability to take down some very, very critical applications, and we don't need a license for any of that stuff. Now, I'm not saying I think people should be licensed to practice this, but I'm also concerned about it because, as GTD said, we're going to have more people entering this career field, and it's not like it's not happening right now. There are people messing up code bases beyond no return. A lot of times, I mean, the reasons vary, but that is one thing that does concern me about now in the future is that, I mean, anybody can join this career field. That's great. That's great. But there's also a darker side to that because not everyone has good intentions. And these applications are so valuable. I mean, people aren't doing security. Like, you need a security clearance to work for a government tech agency, right? But there's a lot of sensitive information out there that isn't government related. You don't need a security clearance to work at Best Buy's tech department. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about with that. GTD said certifications are going to become more palatable as well as degree and verification of skills. You know, I'm all right with that. What I'm not, we do need some more standards. I absolutely endorse that. We need more standards, and because we don't, the quality varies and there's just so much guesswork. If we had some sort of standard for web developers or software developers as a whole, software engineers, I think we'd all be in a better place because at least then the typical developer would know, okay, I need to study this, and this. The problem with the web, though, is that it changes so fast. By the time a certificate gets approved, that sheet of what you need to know is already outdated. Great comments today, developers. My time here is 5:59 Central Standard Time. We had some great chats today. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We had like 20 people here before the video even started. So many great comments. Welcome new subscribers. We are doing a live stream every day. I'm trying to, and I've been successful so far. A live stream. I might do premieres. I might start putting in premieres in lieu of the live stream if I'm not feeling it. Or I might not just upload it all that day. But so far, we're doing pretty good. I want to give a shout out to my super chatter, K-Dub. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday. We will be back here tomorrow, Easter Sunday. I want everyone to have a safe Easter, have a happy Easter. Take it easy. Don't forget to breathe. Don't forget to take a break. Stay safe. Wash those hands. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace out, developers. Have a good one.